We are activating your unique self-discovery one show at a time. The Orchard of Wisdom Self-Discovery podcast at your fingertips, just waiting to inspire and invite you in discovering just how awesome you really are and how to navigate through life in joy, enrichment, personal abundance, in mind, body, spirit, heart, and soul. All the people we bring you are here to serve you on your journey of life. Do enjoy our next show. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Self-Discovery Mediums right here on Self-Discovery Media. I am your host, Sarah Troy, and my guest is Mari Cartagenova. I hope I've pronounced that right. And we can just call her Medium Mari. We're going to be talking about psychic mediumship today. Animal communicator, best-selling author. She has clients all over the globe. She specializes in heartfelt messages from both past loved ones and living or past animals. And when you sit with Mari, you can really feel the presence of your loved one. Her connections offer specific detail and leave you feeling both at peace and uplifted at the same time. She is trained with top mediums from all over the world, including Tony Stockwell, John Holland, Lisa Williams, James Van Prague, Thomas John, and Lauren Rainbow. And we are going to be talking about psychic intuition, mediumship, spirituality, afterlife, animal and animal contact, past lives from soul readings, personal growths, animals and how they heal us, and boy, do they, and being a mum and a medium. So let's get right into it because this is a beautiful subject. You know, a lot of people who are ultra religious think this is just all the devil, and it isn't. It's just, tuning into a channel and allowing the messages to come through. We've all got that capability, but some people have been chosen that this is their path and this is their journey to be that communicator, to bridge that gap. And the spiritual world is a beautiful world. And when we open up to that spirit, not only in the teachings, but also in the communication with ones that have passed over, it's a wonderful experience, isn't it, Murray?
Yes, absolutely. And thank you so much, Sarah, for having me on. This is so fun. Yes, I agree with everything you said. And, I've been doing this work for a long time. And honestly, in terms of the devil and the religious piece, after you cross over, it's really all about love.
Mm-hmm.
So personally, I've never, run across an evil spirit or anything like that. I mean, certainly there were people here, during their time on Earth that they were maybe not the nicest,
Mm-hmm.
but our soul is not inherently evil. There's nothing like that. And I really think that's a misnomer, and I think it's something that Hollywood likes to promote as
Yes.
well. You know.
Yes. I mean, not to say that there aren't earthbound spirits. I've been possessed by one myself when I was dabbling without protection. And there are those spirits that don't want to kind of leave the human realm or want a body. And that does happen, but you've got to be opening up that channel to it. And that is without kind of doing the safety measures of white light, love, and peace. You know, I was young, I was dabbling, and I wasn't protecting
Yeah.
myself. And yes, it does happen. But at the same time, when we open up those channels with love and invite love, the wisdom that we get and the knowledge that we get, whether it be from people who've passed over or just the universal knowledge, is just so utterly divine, isn't it?
Yes, exactly. And, then when I, sit and I do my work, I set the intention that, only for our highest and best.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just part of my usual work that I do. So I sort of surround myself in that bubble of light. I have a whole process that I use. And so I think that's for me. That's why I haven't really experienced any of that because I'm very focused on that. I'm here to do the work because I want to help people and I want to be able to bring closure and healing to them, whether it's for people or pets. And that's really my mission here. And so it is so beautiful to be able to connect to, to the other side or, to even to your own soul in
Yes.
meditation is very beautiful.
Connection with the other side is that sometimes things we didn't get to say, or messages that were lost with sudden death or just after they're gone, you realize that I really wish I'd said this or I really wish I'd said that. And you can speak to them anytime. You know, in your consciousness, you can speak to them anytime and they will hear you. But the messaging coming back is a question of have you opened up that channel? Have you invited them to communicate with you in whichever way they wish to? And a lot of people think it's just like the downloadable app. Okay, well, I've put my message up. Why aren't they responding? It doesn't work that way, does it?
No, it doesn't quite work that way. I mean, but I do believe that everybody has the ability. I mean,
Mm,
certainly, it's like the piano. Some people are, anyone can learn the piano, but some people are just naturally gifted and they sit down and, like my daughter just plays and, it sounds great. So I do believe that everybody can do this work. It's just a matter of certain people have the ability maybe a little bit more than others. But when my clients come to me and they say, "Oh, can you tell my mom that I really miss her? Can you tell my pet?" And I say, they can hear you,
yeah,
they are here, they are listening to you. And it's just a matter, like you were saying, of opening that channel of yourself being open and not talking yourself out of the messages that they do send you. That's
right.
what I see that happens a lot.
Yeah, you know, don't change the message that's being spoken to you to suit your own agenda. You know, listen to the message, and sometimes it could be cryptic. But you know, our minds want to kind of, well, they're saying this, and it's no, they're saying that. You know, what tone are you choosing to hear it in? Because that can misconstrue what the message is altogether.
Yes, absolutely. And it's like a lot of times, my clients will say to me, well, I saw this thing, or, there's a story that I like to tell that I had clients that were actually headed to a funeral and they were listening to their GPS and they got kind of lost. And the GPS said, take a left on Linda Road. And then the next message was, take a right on Rose Road. And my client said to me, well, do you think that was a message? Because their mom, who they were grieving and going to the funeral for, her name was Linda Rose. So I'm
Mm,
like, yeah,
yes,
that's
exactly.
definitely a message. But they're coming to me saying, well, I don't know. Maybe it was just a mistake. Maybe I made it up, So it's
Coincidence, which there is no such thing as coincidence.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's being able to accept what you're given and, like you said, not change it
Mm,
and not doubt it. I see so many people saying, well, no, I don't know. That was just, yeah, it was a coincidence. It was just a weird thing.
yeah.
It's like, no, they're trying to give you a message. So just try to be open to receive it.
I've always been one to receive, and for a while I kind of used to say I worked for deaf. So people would come to me in their transition and I would just lead them forward if they, you know, kind of hadn't seen their way forward. And I can never choose who it's going to be. It's just whoever's resonating on my wavelength.
Sure.
And I've always done that. I don't do that so much right now because it was decided I was going in a different direction. But it is, you know, people get spooked. You know, is that something evil? You know, if they get scared by it, like if they're scared if they see a ghost. So what you're seeing is energy, a collective
Yes.
energy there. And some people do stay around a place, you know, to protect it. There's a part of them, you know, to be there of service. We're the ones that become petrified over it.
Exactly.
They're not
Yeah,
there to scare
100%.
us.
No, of course not. And it was interesting because I was just telling a story the other day about how, and people will say, oh, well, of course you're a medium, so your house is haunted. I don't think of it, it's not haunted.
No,
It's just some of my
well
loved
lived in.
ones. Yeah, they like to hang around. And I was telling the story about how I was cleaning this piano, which has been in our family for many generations. And my daughter was there and she was much younger. And I was telling her about her grandmother, her great grandmother, and everyone that had played on this piano. And then all of a sudden the radio just turned on and I was like, oh, that's your grandmother. Like to me, I wasn't
Yes,
freaked out. It was
right.
just normal. My daughter's like, oh, I don't know, mom. That was
Mm.
really weird. And she's like, well, how do I know that's really Nana? I said, well, why don't we ask her to turn it on again? I said, Nana, if you're around, can you turn the radio on just so that, my daughter can know that it's you? So we waited and I'm cleaning away and doing whatever. And my daughter's like, see, mom, I told you it
Mm.
wasn't Nana because nothing happened. But as soon as she said, the radio hasn't come on, the radio turned on again.
Yes.
I was like, see, I
Yeah.
told you she just wants to say hi.
Mm. And the thing is, people don't realize how much energy that takes for them to actually do that. You
Exactly.
know, they can show their presence in their energetic life, you know, in their light, but to actually move things or turn things on
Yeah.
requires a great deal of energy from them to do so because it's much, much harder to do those tangible things.
Exactly. And, when those things happen, I'm like excited. I think it's
Yes.
really cool. I'm like, hi, thanks for coming to visit, so it's fun.
And I remember a case where my mum, we lived in South Africa for a long time, and I was overseas, but my mum was at home in this gorgeous cottage, and we had a ghost there called Lily, and she'd been the first resident of this cottage, and her husband had, I mean, gone to war, never came back, and she was still waiting for him, but she
Mm,
decided to stay. And we actually
yeah.
swear she drank the spirits because the spirits would go down at night. The whiskey content
Oh,
would go down.
funny, funny.
But my mother developed a fever and she was really, really sick. And she said all night I was there putting wet cloths on her and trying to cool her down. And then and she felt that presence of me being there. And the next morning she realized I was in England and she was in South Africa.
Oh,
Right. So,
wow.
it's Lily, and Lily showed her a will that my mother had been cheated out. But when she went back to look for the document again, it wasn't there, but she remembered everything on the document. So it's
Wow.
very often they just want to work with us. They just want to help us.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why they're here a lot of
Mm,
times is because they want to be part of our life and they want to be able to work with us and sort of help us work through whatever issues we're going through. They are here as our helpers,
yes.
not for you to be afraid of. And so I
Yeah.
think it's important for people to know that.
Yeah, she used to stand at my door at night, so I used to say good night to her because I always felt her presence. Good night, Lily,
Oh,
because
I
her
love
presence was
that.
really, really strong. It was lovely. Um, but as I said, I did open the door to a wrong spiritor when I was young because I was dabbling too much without the protection, and that. And it was also a very confusing time for me, and
Sure.
some really weird things really did happen. Um, and yes, you've got to know. There never was any evil intention behind anything, but you've also got to know what state of beingness you're in, right? When
Right.
when you're doing this, and make sure that you're in a pure intent, a heart, soul
Exactly.
connection. Otherwise,
Exactly.
other doors can be opened. Um, but spirits. Some are just wanting to give a message and move on. Some of them unfinished business. Some of them are just staying around to watch you through life and guide you through life. And
Yeah.
you get those feelings, and it's like, don't dismiss it when you get that feeling, or suddenly, I don't know why I turned left up there. I was meant to go right, and then something happens, right? And those are
Exactly.
the spirits leading you, and it's that's just don't dismiss them because they're here to guide you.
Yeah, 100. I agree with you 100%. And for me, it feels like a really calming presence to
Mm.
have that spirit energy. And of course, I do this for a living, so I'm a
Yes,
little more sensitive than other people, but it's just lovely to have that feeling. A lot of times when as I connect with clients, I'm saying, well, your mom's telling me she's there, I feel her over my left shoulder. And I feel like if you, as the client, are like in a quiet place, you don't have to meditate, but just sort of get quiet within yourself, you
center.
can feel that
Mm.
energy as well so that you
Mm.
know for sure that they are there and they are there to comfort you.
It's that signature, isn't it? It's that signature
Yes.
energy, and then you can identify it when you get present with self, and you become centered, and you feel that energy. Then you always will recognize that energy as being them.
Yes, exactly. And and for me, in some ways, there's really nothing more comforting than that
Mm.
because it's not just them, it's sort of like that universal energy, the God source, whatever you want to say. It's like you are surrounded
Mm.
and encompassed by that. And I love that. It just, even talking about it gives me goosebumps because it's just so beautiful and pure. And
Yes.
that's really, that's what makes it so special.
And kind of a feeling that you're never alone. There are those beautiful spirits that are around you, kind of helping you through life. Why do spirits stand so much over, behind the left shoulder? Because you hear that commonly. Why is it?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think other people, it depends on the medium you're talking to. Like for me, when I'm working, all my spirit people come in on my left.
Mm,
And so I'm, very clairvoyant, so I'll see things, but they drop everything on my left. And it's funny, sometimes I'll get a spirit that will show up on my right, and I immediately know that he's a troublemaker. He or she is a troublemaker.
right,
I'm like,
right.
you're in the wrong space. Get over to the left side. And I'll be like, they're just trying to mess with me. So I think it depends depends on the person or the medium that's doing the work. Because I've seen people do both left and right, and there might be something about receiving on the left and
Mm,
something about that, but I'm not exactly sure why. But I know for me that everything happens on my left side.
right. So that's where the channel is really open.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Now, animals, when they're alive, speak to us through our spirit anyway, right?
Yes.
They are most certainly, you just look into their eyes and you are in the same spiritual world as they are. So for them to communicate with us afterwards is, I think, probably even stronger than it would be than for humans.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because when I first started working, there was, I don't know, the people I was hanging around with, the mediums, they were telling me that, oh, animal communication is really difficult. And I was like, okay, I just sort of took that as that's what they were saying to me. And then I was thinking, but why would it be any more difficult than it would be with a person? Because
Mm.
we are all spirit, we're all soul.
Yes.
And so I just started connecting with animals. And honestly, for me, when I connect with animals, it's almost easier because their soul, their spirit is so pure,
Yeah.
and that connection is just flows. And so I love working with animals, whether they're past or living, and I'm really able to speak with them to really find out what they're feeling.
Well, they live very much in attunement, don't they? They live very much in the connection of spirit. And I think this is why they're so healing to us, and why, they can take people, out of their troubled waters and calm them, because the animal spirit is just so incredibly nurturing and calming and loving. A cat's maybe a little different, because they're very
Well,
aloof.
depending upon the cat.
Depending on the cat, most cats can be rather aloof, and it's ordained if you're going to stroke them or not. But
Yeah.
especially a dog or even horses, they love the touch, they love the feeling, and that communication that you get from them is just absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, 100% I agree with that. And I think part of what it makes so special for us to connect with the animals is when we're connecting to that, I feel like it almost reminds us of when maybe we were born
Mm,
subconsciously because it has that purity
yeah,
and that openness. It's almost like before all the gunk of
yeah,
life got on us. And and that's also why it makes it so much easier for us to connect with them because we're being reminded almost of our true self.
yes,
And, I've written a lot of articles and spoken about how animals are here to help us heal, like you were
yeah,
saying earlier. And I think that's a big part of it. It's sort of helping remind us of our true soul, of our true God source, and sort of tapping into that to sort of get to that place of healing. And that's really the job of a lot of the animals that are in our lives.
yeah. I interviewed a vet who also then became a canine cop. His wife, when she was married to someone else, was beaten up so very badly that she's got metal in her body. She's just had part of her arm removed. I mean, what this person did to
Oh,
her was
God.
absolutely horrific. And then they connected and married and have a beautiful love. But they've started breeding dogs. For as
Hmm.
comfort dogs, right? And
Oh,
he was saying that as a vet, at night he'd wake up feeling there was people coming through the wall, and he would have his gun, under his pillow, and
yeah.
that when they decided to get their dog and their dog slept with them, it never happened again. These never had
Yeah.
those terrors, and we don't realize how much they can change our frequency, because that frequency of the post-traumatic stress or the pain, autism, or people going through health issues, they
Yeah.
change the channel on us, right? And they change it to that love. You're safe. I've got you, and it's really quite beautiful.
Yeah, exactly. And, I know you were talking about cats earlier, and I can definitely agree that cats sometimes have that. I have three cats currently. So they can definitely have that attitude or catitude, we like to say.
Mm,
But two of my cats are like they'll sit and they'll lie on my chest, and I always feel like they're like my healing crystals
mm,
because I have this one cat, she's a gray cat, and I call her my witch's cat. She's not here right now, but a lot of times she'll come when I'm working, she'll sit on my lap. But if ever I have like an issue with my body, like a ache or a pain, she knows exactly where it is, and she will find it and sit on it and purr, and it's so healing. It's
yeah.
like she is my one of my healing cats, so it's really amazing, and I love them.
I remember one time waking up and there was just darkness, and I felt a weight on my legs, and I thought, I'm paralyzed. I can't see, and I can't move. And the cat was sitting on my head with the paws over my eyes, and the dog was lying on
Oh,
my legs. And it's the same house Lily was. And Lily was by the door, and I mean, what the hell is going on here?
oh,
But
that's funny. Yeah.
listen to your animals, especially when it comes to people, because they can read people on a cellular vibrational level that we can't. And,
Yes.
we had a border collie, my beautiful spirit. I miss her so much. It's 6 years and I still miss her so badly. But
Yeah.
when when my son was young and friends would come over, there'd be some of the hackles would go up and she'd growl and go still. And I thought, well, he appears to be a nice boy. What's going on? And ended up, being a kid of crime and doing things that shouldn't have been
Mm,
done. And it's like they read. A quick story of a dog that saved my life. I was given an antidepressant. This was back in South Africa. And I was told, just go live your life. You're fine. The pills aren't going to do anything. And I'm driving along this coastal road and it,
mm,
it is mountain and then sheer drop to the water. And there's this bend where you can actually stop at and look at the view. But also, a lot of people committed suicide over there. And
mm.
I'm in an open sports car and I'm thinking I can fly. So, my Candy at the time, she barks at me and I bark back, and she paws me and I paw her. Next thing I know, she took her
Oh,
entire body and threw it over me. And I came to a
wow.
stop less than a foot or even just a few inches to the edge of the curb. Right. And
Oh,
and snapped
wow.
me right out of what I was in and never took those pills again.
Yeah,
But it's like,
seriously.
how did she know? That's where the thing is, you see these animals do things that are so incredible, and it is that
Yes.
spirit of that attunement. Well, just when their body passes on, that spirit's still there, and it's still
Yes.
communicating with you. And if you had a really good connection with them when they were alive, you're still going to have a good connection with them when they're gone.
Yeah. No, 100%. That's a beautiful story. And you're very lucky that your dog was there with
Yes.
you
Otherwise, I
because
would have
that,
gone over there. So it was a suicide place. I don't know if I was being called. But I actually thought I could
wow.
fly, and they had to take that pill off the market because too many people did commit suicide with it
Oh, wow.
because it had the different side effect. But if it wasn't for her, we would both have been gone.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, I'm glad she was there, and
Yes.
yeah, animals can do amazing things. I mean, they really do understand what's, people say, "Oh, stupid dog," or
Yeah.
but it's like no, they really understand more than we do. And in terms of spirits, I mean, they see spirits all the time. So
Yes.
often I'll get clients that'll say, "Oh, my cat is just staring into the corner. Oh, the dumb dog just keeps looking, and there's nothing there." It's like no, they're seeing spirit. That's
Yeah.
why they're looking in that direction. They're connecting with spirit because for them, no one ever told them that it was weird to do it.
Right.
So they're
Exactly.
like, hey, okay, I see you. You're my friend, whatever. And actually, I had, one of my beloved cats passed. He was only 3 years old and
Was young.
he passed away very suddenly for, tragic. And the spot that he passed away in, all my other cats avoid that spot. It's like
Mm.
right by the door. And, whenever they're coming in from outside, we have a catio where they go outside. They will literally jump over that spot because they know that Squeak is still there. Squeak. And I'm like, it's okay. Don't worry. It's just Squeak. But it's just, they know that he's there and they will avoid that area because they
Yeah.
know like that's kind of his spot where his energy is. So they are totally tuned into everything.
Right. And I did a show a while ago on grief, on losing people, but also in losing pets. And a lot of people, "Oh, it's just a
Yeah.
pet," but no, to many of us, those lovely little four-legged creatures are like children, and they are. When you
Yes.
lose one, it's like losing a child, and there's a lot of grief around it. So
So
having a
much.
connection, with the spirit of that animal that meant so much to you. As it's 6 years, I still miss my Kokomo so incredibly.
Yeah.
And it was like there's a missing piece because when she was with me, she just knew me so well. That
Yes.
connection was just so tight. And then, when she's gone, I know she's still there, but it's not the same, and the don't ever downplay the loss of an animal because it is like losing a child.
Yes, 100%. And I've heard from so many people, and excuse me, even for myself, in some ways, it's worse than losing a person.
Mm.
I don't know how that is, but I know for me with my cat, and many of my clients are just bereft,
Yeah.
forever because of their animal, because you have that deep connection. And a piece I wanted to mention about that is like there's something called soul groups, which you might be familiar with, but I can just mention it briefly for your viewers. When you're born and when you cross, you are connected with the same souls.
Mm.
So if you have that deep connection with somebody, whether it's a person or a pet, if you say, "Oh wow, I feel like I've known you my whole life," it's
Yes.
because you've known them in other
Yeah.
lifetimes. And so just know that if you do have that deep connection with a pet or with a person for that matter, you will reconnect with them again on the other side and get to experience many more lifetimes with them because you have that unbreakable bond with them of being in the same soul group. And often when we lose a pet that we're so connected to, it's because they're in your soul group and you have so much history with them.
That really does open up a door for me. I've had many lifetimes removed that were blocking me, that were stopping me from moving forward. I've been here a very, very long time. I came here to ignite
Mm-hmm.
hearts, souls, and spirits. So that has always been my job. Lost my way there a bit for a while, and then this lifetime was coming back to it. But it is, I grew up playing with dead people. I was a sickly child, left alone a lot. And my mum would come in
Mm.
and see my dolls, and they'd be addressing something else. Well, don't see that doll. Where is it? Well, don't you see Jane or don't you see this one? And
Yeah,
to,
yeah.
to me, it was just, kind of normal. Um, and then I'd walk through ruins and hear the voices. I go past
Yeah.
graveyards and they'll all be talking to me. And, and sometimes it was a wee bit scary, depending on the energy, and other times it was just very pleasurable. But I didn't know that not everybody could do this. And so, I
Yes.
had to learn and grow up very quickly that, that you don't talk about this to some people. I'm 68, so back then you kept quiet about it because you were scared of the white coats, and they would come
Yeah,
and take you away,
exactly.
right? We're in a world right now where we not only can talk about it, but we can open up to the experience and embrace it with more light and more understanding without the persecution, which is a big deal, isn't it? You and I have both been burned at the stake, girl.
No, I know 100%. And and I'm not we actually passed Salem the other night. I'm not too far from Salem. And I definitely know that, I have those ancestors that
Mm,
were in Salem and connected to that piece, as a lot of us do that are
yeah.
light workers. But yeah, absolutely. We had a similar childhood. I was, the weird kid that was talking to trees, and
Yes,
my
because
mom
they
would be
talk
like, "What are you
back to
talking
you.
about?" Yeah, of course they did. I was like, "What are you talking about?" Like, of course you don't hear this. This isn't
Yes.
normal. And
Yeah.
so I realized that as well, and I sort of started to keep it to myself. And then I referred to it as like my dirty little secret because, I knew about it and they would still talk to me, but I didn't tell anybody because I didn't want to be judged. And
Right.
so,
And
I
yet people
totally
are
get it.
drawn to you though. Like all my life, people have been drawn to me, and I would
Yes.
give them information they needed. Oh gosh, how do you know that? I don't know.
Yeah.
Can you repeat it? No. It was just channeled through me for you to know what you needed to know when you needed to know it. I'm just the vessel, but I didn't even know I was a vessel at that time. I didn't half the time as a kid, didn't even know what message I was giving. I was just giving a message that somebody needed to hear. And that's, the beauty again of children and their beautiful innocence. They're so attached to their spirit and to that beautiful universal source energy that we then send them to school or church or anything else and make them conform. And
Yeah.
we lose that beautiful essence of that spirit soul that they really are.
No, it's so very true. And, I've had similar experiences. My whole life people would be drawn to me and I would tell them things and they would say, "Oh, like, how do you know that?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I just know
Yeah,
it. I'm
exactly.
just letting you know it because I'm hearing it." But I think people in general are drawn to spiritual people or people that are very
Yes.
open because it's either they need to unburden themselves, they need to feel connected,
Yeah.
and especially in today's world, I don't need to tell you that everybody's on their phone all the
Yeah.
time and they're so disconnected that it's
Yes.
just like we really need to bring the light and really reconnect to people, to energy, to nature, because there's so much disconnection going on now that I think it's more critical now in some ways than ever.
Have you found that the spirits have become more, I want to say a different word, but they almost say pushy? like, I'm not going to be in the background here. I need to get this message through because people are not paying attention, that the urgency for messages to come through are even more
Yeah,
to
I would
raise that
definitely say
consciousness.
that. Yeah,
Hmm.
for sure, for sure. And it's interesting because for me, if I'm dealing with a spirit, like it's always the loudest ones that get through the soonest,
Yes, yes.
Sometimes I'll have a spirit in my face and they're like, oh, blah, 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 blah. They're talking, talking. I'm like, okay, I hear you, I got it. But the quiet ones, or the people that would have been more quiet in life, they still stand a little further away, so they're not as pushy. But I would definitely say the urgency of messages has
Yeah.
increased because I just feel like there's more need. There's more need in the world, and I also believe there's more want in the world.
Yeah.
Like I literally have had the UPS guy show up at my door, and sometimes I'll have my business name on the package, and he'll say, "Oh, are you a medium? Like, do you have any messages for me? Like, do you see anyone with me?" And I'm like, "I'm just answering the door here. I'm not like working really."
Right.
So,
Yeah, they don't realize
um,
there is a kind of a tuning in that you have to do. It's not just like, like we've seen in the movies, right? You can pick certain things up or over people of that energy, but you've got to tune into the frequency to see what's going on around them. And it's not always instant, is it?
No, exactly. And for me, and I know everybody works differently, I'm not the person that walks up to people in the
Yeah.
supermarket and says, "Oh, I have your brother here." Like
No.
for me, I'm really respectful of boundaries.
Right.
Prior to doing this professionally, I worked as a therapist for a long time. So I
Mhm.
have sort of that framework. And so I always say, either I'm working or I'm not. And when I'm
Right.
not working, it's just off. I'm just a
Yeah.
normal person. I'm just mom. I say mom first, medium second.
Mhm.
And yeah, if
No,
I'm going to be working.
me, mum, medium. That's how it should be because you've got to take care of yourself, right?
Right. Well, that's
Mum,
true.
kid you, because that's actually a lot of the thing with spiritual people or spiritual healers is that you feel so compelled to get out there. And there's so much urgency to heal people right now that
True.
you can definitely have some burnout, which is really important that you do pace yourself as well.
You are 10,000% right. And as my family would tell you, like, they're like, I'm always doing something. I'm always like doing 10 things at once. And I can't, relaxing is definitely an art for me because I have a difficult time
Mhm.
getting to that place where I can let go. And I got to a point in my business that my bookings were like 8, 9, 10 months out, and I had so many people that it
Yeah.
just felt like so much pressure, like, oh, all these
Yes.
people waiting. So I literally had to close my bookings down because I had to sort of get everybody off my wait list, get to all the clients that I had waiting. Not to say like I'm so great, but it was just more of me saying it's too much for me. Like
Yes.
there's too many people and there's too much need. So I had to sort of backtrack a little bit and slow it down. And I'm planning on opening my bookings again up in the new year, but there just had to be a little bit of space for me. But I only really got to that point when I really started to freak out and
Yeah.
there was
Yeah.
so much pressure.
And people don't realize it, do they? I mean, anybody can channel at any time and you can live in that beautiful space, but they don't realize when you're channeling for someone else, it really does. I'm a seer. I used to be a reader. I don't do it anymore. And although you get into that space and it's very easy what comes to you, they don't realize how much energy you are spending doing it.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's not like the movies. The
No.
movies make it look like
Yeah.
I give my little preamble before all of my sessions, and it's not like Ghost where they come up to you and the movie goes like, "Hey Mari, this is
Yeah.
what's going on." I'm like, "No, it's not quite like that."
Yeah.
So it does take a lot of energy to get the messages and to like relay them properly.
Right. It's the same as it takes a lot of energy for them to come through, especially if they're moving objects, etc. Because
Yeah,
when they're not in matter, right? So it is to move something, they've got to do it with energy, and that takes up a lot of energy, especially if they're coming from the other side of the veil. Um, some people are gifted with the gift of sight more than others. Everybody has that capability of at least listening to your own heart and soul and your own messages, but not
of
everybody's here
course.
to be the messenger. Being the messenger, it's a wonderful gift to have, but at the same time, it can be very draining. And when you've got that person, well, I don't like what you're telling me. Well, I am just the messenger. Don't shoot me,
Exactly,
right?
exactly.
All I can do is reveal. What you do with it is up to you. Uh, And you've got the people that come to you and go, but I don't believe you. Then why did you come in the first place? You know?
Right. I know.
So, it's as people who want to be read for or are intrigued to know what our loved ones are trying to say to us, there is a certain amount of respect and decorum that you need to have. And you might tune in, but they may not have much to say, or you can't get them at that time because they're just not willing to come through. So, you're purely the vehicle, and people have got to understand that. And if it doesn't work, then it's just obviously not meant to be at that time.
Yes, 100%. And it doesn't happen too often because
Mm.
I try to be really clear in all my booking forms. But I have had certainly clients come to me and say, well, I'll only know it's my mom if she says our secret code word or
Right.
whatever
Yeah.
it is. And I'm like, like John Holland says, it's not 1-800 dial a spirit, so I can't guarantee who's coming through. Like I just sort of open the door and like,
Yes.
and 9 times out of 10 the person that's coming is somebody that you really need to hear from.
Right.
So it might not be the person you want to hear from. Like it could be your neighbor, it could be your aunt, it could be your ex-husband that you don't want to hear from. But I'm not, like you said, I'm not in control of that.
No.
So I'm just the channel. I'm just bringing you the messages, and that's the best I can do. And so I just always ask my clients to be open to the messages that are coming and know that it's in spirit's hands and that the message is coming from spirit and this is something that they want you to know.
And very often a message may not make sense in the moment. And it's like, don't try and analyze it from the human mind, right?
Right.
It is feel the information in your heart and soul. And then what that message really is will be truly revealed to you. But if we're trying to kind of dissect it and everything else, it's just that we're going to get ourselves up in a twist there, and trying to make sense out of something from just the human intellect is when it came through a divine spirit. It's you've got to bring the heart, soul, and spirit equation and intellect into it to actually understand what the message is.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, and I always tell people that, if you don't understand it now, it's totally fine. Make a note of it, write it down, because,
Yes.
99% of the time I get the text or the email later saying, oh, the thing that you
Yeah.
said, well, now I understand. So I'm like, just be open, just receive it, and just sort of allow, as opposed to having an agenda. Like, I need to
Yes.
hear this, I need to hear this. It's like, it doesn't work that way.
No. Now, I remember reading for a young East Indian girl who had an arranged marriage. Well, just tell me I'm going to
Mm,
be happy. Tell me I'm going to be happy. And well, I said, no, I can't tell you you're going to be happy. I'm also going to tell you this man isn't for you. And,
yeah,
it's up to you to speak out for yourself. And because you've come to me with this, I've got to make it work type thing. And
yeah,
I'm, telling you that the energies just do not match, but that's up to you now what you do with it. Do you stand up to the parents? Do you stand up to him? Do you go for
right.
it anywhere? I mean, it's just people have got to understand that when you give the messages, what they do with them and what those messages are for you to deal with. Right? We're just the messenger.
Exactly. And I think sometimes, like you were saying, they want us to fix it.
Yes.
They want us to give us, the right answer. And I'm saying, look, I don't know. Like, this is what I'm seeing. And, I always say, I'm not God. I don't know
Mm,
everything. I can make mistakes, but this is what I'm seeing. And this is what they're telling me. And, and it's up to you to either make changes in your life or go in a
yeah.
different direction. But it's not, I can't change what the message is because that would be unethical. And I don't want to
Right.
just tell you something that you want to hear because
Yes.
then it's not coming from spirits. That
No.
doesn't, then why are you, hiring me? That doesn't make any sense.
Well, I'm
So,
sure as a therapist, there's many a time you get a message and it goes kind of through the therapist's mind. So do you find
yes.
sometimes that the message, because of the therapeutic mind, you deliver it in a different way?
Yes, 100%. And I think that's, one of my strengths. And I think that's part of why sometimes people come to see me, because if it's not the message you want to
Mm,
hear, I'm sort of able to couch it in a way that's a little more palatable.
yeah.
But I still give the message
Hmm.
as I'm hearing it, but I'm able to say it in such a way that it might make it a little easier to understand. And, whereas some people that I've noticed that have no training at all as a working as a therapist will just say, well, no, sorry, this is how it is. You're getting divorced. That's it.
Right.
And
Yeah.
you don't really want to say it that way. Say, well, I know things maybe not be working out and there's some difficulty. And you want to say it in a softer way. And I
Right.
think because of my training, working as a therapist for so many years, that I'm able to do that. And I think it's a lot. It's very helpful in my work.
A lot of people are scared of, oh, I don't want you to see my death. And, we're all going to die at some point. And, death, I remember reading for a girlfriend of mine, and I saw the death so very clearly around her. But I said to her, you need to go home and see your father, see your family. And I made it sound like it was her father. I didn't say it, but I made it sound like her father was going to demise. I said, you need to go
Yeah.
and say the words you need to say. And she did that, but it was she herself that died. But I couldn't say to her, you're
Oh,
going to go and die, go and do some unfinished messages. So I told it in a way that wouldn't have scared the hell out of her, and she died of an aneurysm, so it came very, very quickly. Another time, I had a young girl. My mum was a reader too, and I talked her into doing a fundraiser at school.
oh,
For the school by us doing readings. Well, the fundraiser had all finished. We still had a lineup. My mum said, "What are you
oh,
talking
wow.
me into?" Right? But there was this young girl coming in, and no matter what, I could not see anything, nothing, absolutely nothing for her. And I said, I just must be tired. I can't see anything right now. My apologies, here's your money back. But she was dead in a week. There was no
Oh,
future for her. And, again, there's nothing I could have done to change that. That was her
yeah,
soul's journey. But no, it is, there's a way of seeing death, but and if people say, I don't want to know, then even if we see it, we don't tell them directly, but we can't control what we see, right?
right. Exactly. No, you can't. And it's just like you were saying, we're the messenger.
Mm,
We receive the information and then I try to pass it along in the most gentle and, compassionate way possible. But, I'm not making up the messages. I'm
right,
just receiving the messages. So if you want someone to just tell you what you want to hear, then you probably don't want to go to a medium
right.
because that's really not our job.
No. There's so much healing in a message, if it's somebody comes through with something, and it could be just minor, but that message in itself is just so healing, isn't it? Because the connectiveness of it, knowing that you've connected, that loved one has taken the time to come through to give you a message. It's really very, very comforting.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And a big part of my work is when I connect with spirit or animal, I'm really big about the personality and the
Yeah.
feeling. So I really get into that, what type of person they were and how they interacted and, whether they were quiet or loud or whatever. And so as I'm doing the reading, I try to paint a vivid picture so that the person can feel enveloped by their loved one and the messages. It's not just like, well, he says hi and he loves you. It has to be more than that. It has to
Right.
be flushed out
Yeah.
and painted with vibrant colors. And for me, that's really important because I feel them in me or I feel connected to them, whether it's animal or people. And so I give that full description of the person along with all the feelings. And oftentimes when I'm working with clients, they're like, oh, I can feel them around me. And for me, that's the biggest compliment because that's what I want you to be able to feel what
Yeah.
I feel. I don't
Yes.
want to just relay information. I want to get the feeling so you can feel that hug from your
Mm.
mom or from your dog or to get that like warm spiritual embrace. To me, that's the message of the work is to feel your loved one and to know for certain that they're okay.
Exactly. Um, the unfortunately, my two older children, have lost too many friends, and
Mm,
I've either known the mothers, or there was one funeral I went to where the kid was just so surprised at how many people had turned up to his funeral because he was very humble. He
yeah.
was randomly shot when my son and he and a couple of other friends were out celebrating a
Mm,
birthday.
oh
Um,
God.
and really, really painful. And but I said to a group of the friends and to my son, he's surprised of how many people have come out, and he
Yeah.
wants to say gratitude to all of that, but please look after my mum, because the mum was the one that's obviously very, they'd come from Iran to
Yeah.
have a good life. He had
Oh,
just been certified as a plumber. He was a very loving young man, and then senselessly killed. And my son, who is actually quite a spiritual person but has tried to deny it, was upset that I said this to everyone, because
oh,
I'm just being weird, something a freak mom, and it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
again, we're compelled to pass the message on, whether you think we're freakish or not, we're compelled to pass the message on when we do get it. And another friend who lost her son, a Jehovah Witness, and they don't, she said, I respect that you see him and the message, because the message was to his mum, I'm all right. Don't worry about me. I'm happy. I'm safe where I am. I worry about you.
Hmm.
Don't get stuck where you are, And she didn't. She never moved on. She ended up with cancer, divorcing, and the other
Oh,
children feeling, they weren't
oh,
worthy enough. And again, that is a whole grief thing. But it is sometimes, however painful the message is from a loved one, please choose to hear it, because we
yeah,
think that you know, they're no longer around. But they don't realize that they've gone to such a peaceful place. They're in such tranquility that I don't worry about the people that have passed over. It's about the people that are
right.
left behind.
100%. Yeah, I agree with you because, like, Earth is where the learning is. This is
Yes.
where the suffering is. There is no suffering on the other side.
No.
And as you've done the work, you know that that's like the number one question. Are they okay?
Yeah.
Is my dog okay? It's like, yeah, they're great. It's
Yeah.
like the old joke that, I'm not scared of dead people. It's the living ones that I'm
Yes.
afraid of.
Yes. Which we have
Because if,
really good reason to be afraid of at times.
right, right. So for everyone to know, like when you cross over, like your pets, they're all fine because you leave, this body, this mortal body. I like to think of our body as like this is the outfit that we're wearing this time
Yes.
around, and that when you're born, again, you get another outfit. So you leave the body and you leave all the stresses and the lessons and everything that's happening here on earth, and you're just spirit, you're just energy on the other side, and it's really just all about love. And
Yeah.
so please know that your people, your animals on the other side are fine.
Yeah, they're fine. And they don't want
Yeah.
us to get stuck in the
No,
pain or the anguish of losing them. Yes, there is a mourning period, there's the grief
of
that you have to
course.
go through. There is that process, but don't get stuck there, because you're still living and they want you to live. It's not a question, well, I
Yes.
don't want them to live because I've gone. No, that's a different energy altogether. It is about, this was the end of my book. You've still got many
Yeah,
chapters to go.
exactly. And and just because they've crossed, if everyone differs in the reincarnation, but obviously we believe in it, just know that there are other lifetimes, there are other lessons, there are other opportunities that you will have to be
Yes,
with this person again. So they're not gone forever. They're
right.
not like, sorry, that's it, all done. You will connect to them on the other side. And then if they are in that soul group, if you have that real deep connection with them, you're going to be reborn into a whole nother life for them, and you're going to get to experience all new things. So there's beautiful things in the future waiting for you. You just have to know that it's true.
I know that, I came here to ignite hearts and souls. I'm not from here, but I know that I fell in love with a human, and through our various lifetimes, we've been in each other's lives, through the time period. And then I had a kind of a 50 lifetime span there of, a lot of torture and persecution and everything else. But
Mm,
I don't know if we connected at that point, but I feel um, there is that love connection. You know it when you meet somebody, and it's the heart and the soul are so bound to each other
yes.
that you cannot deny it. I haven't had that connection yet in this lifetime, but I do know in whatever form. Maybe it was through the dog. I don't know, but
Yeah, absolutely
you
could
don't
have
know which
been. It
way it's
could have
going to
been.
come. But that connection with the heart and soul, you can be completely silent, but the heart and soul is always speaking, and you know it. And so, as you said, that soul group, and then that particular loving signature, it will always find you in the next life in some form or other. Still hoping
Yes.
it's going to come in a two-legged form, but
I know. Well, I hope so. I will add you to my prayer list and send that energy out to you, of course. But no, I totally agree with you. And sometimes it is the animal because
yeah,
people think I'm super weird for thinking that. But I believe if you were a dog in one lifetime, doesn't mean that you're going to be a dog in the next one. You could have been
right.
a human, a
Yes,
dog, a snake, whatever, because it's all energy. It's all
yes,
a source energy. So it doesn't matter what outfit we're wearing while we're here. When we come back again, it's another outfit, and it doesn't matter again if it's person or animal. And so we are lucky and blessed when we have those connections, because like you said, it's like an instantaneous zap. Like you just
yes.
have that merge and you're like, oh my God. I
Magnets.
know, and it's so awesome. And my cat that crossed, and we were like that. And I totally understand. He's been gone a couple of years, and I just miss him every day. And even though I know he's here
Yeah,
in
it's the actual
spirit and I see
holding
him
them, right?
moving,
It's the holding them.
exactly.
Yeah, I
I,
know.
I, I miss him in the physical. I miss
Yes.
him in the physical, and it's just like,
Yeah.
but I know we'll be connected again. But that, it's a very beautiful connection, and for the people that have found that in this lifetime, they know what we're talking about.
Yeah. The spirit and the beautiful spirit world, it's all about love. It complete
Yes.
resonates on the vibration of love. The work that you do has to come from a stem of your own self-love, love for self, a
Yes.
love for your purpose, love for your calling, love and trust of what comes through you. And if you do have the charlatans out there that they're
Yeah.
going to say anything for any reason. And if you feel that the vibe connection isn't there between you and the seer, um, very often it means that they're not genuine because you can really feel it. You can feel
Yes.
you feeling it, right? And then, you really know. So one does have to be careful of the people out there that give what you're doing a bad name, right?
I know. Yeah, you're right. It saddens me when I hear about this, like people saying, "Oh, I had to give them $500 so they could remove the curse or
Right.
something." I don't know. Just all these kind of crazy things, and it's like it makes me really sad because I think that what, true mediums and psychics and intuitives do is so beautiful. Bringing heaven down to earth to connect that energy with our souls,
Yeah.
and then you have people that are taking advantage of that, and it's sad. It is really sad. But I hope that people, I pray that people can tell the difference and don't get sucked into that situation, because that's just so tragic.
Yeah. Again, don't let the pain or the anguish or your head be the only voice,
Yes.
right? The only way you're ever going to channel or receive anything from a channeling is if an open heart and an open soul, because that's the way it comes through. And if for it to go through the heart, it has to be with love, because that's what the heart represents, the purity of love.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I tell people. That's why I do this work. I mean,
Hmm.
I don't need to. I could be doing many other things, but I do this because I want to, give people healing and comfort and sometimes closure for situations that
Yeah.
have happened, and to let them know that their loved one is still there, and many times like trying to get a hold of them
Yes.
and they're missing the signs, or they're talking away the signs, so that they can know for themselves that
How to
true,
recognize it.
beautiful connection.
Mm.
Yeah, exactly, with spirit.
Yeah. I mean, and that's what we're all looking for, isn't it? As living beings, we're looking for connection. And, when we
Yeah,
lose people, we're wanting to reconnect with them. And we can all reconnect. We can all have those connections. But it's getting out of the mind doctrine and open, listening to the heart and the soul. Um, because even if you're able to open up and receive different messages, the messages are going to be given for your purpose, right? And your purpose may be something radically different. You've been chosen to do what you do. And so that those channels that are open for you are special channels because that's your calling, that's your purpose. We're all designed for something. And when we find
yeah,
out what that purpose is, that's where our strength and our forte and our vision is going to be. So although we can all open up to that channel and receive what it is we need to know when we need to know it, it's going to come through to you in your aptitude of what your beautiful instrument is. and how
Right.
you're going to play it and whom you're going to play it for. So not, we're all capable of receiving, not everybody's capable of mediumship.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think there are certain people that, like you were saying, you can definitely understand messages and get
Mhm.
messages from your loved ones. But I think to have this, as a career or something that you're going to be doing on a regular basis, you definitely have to be open and, like you said, open your own channel
Yeah.
to those messages. And it definitely it takes a lot of work. I mean, like my UPS man story, it's not instantaneous. Like I
Yeah.
have to meditate, I have to get into a whole thing. It's not like I'm not walking around, seeing spirits everywhere. Like for me, I'm working and I'm working. Otherwise, I'm just off because it's too much. It's
Yes.
too much to have it all the time. But when I'm working and giving those messages, it's really beautiful.
Yeah. And that's again, people don't understand. Well, if it comes to you, you have no control over it, you have no control when. No, we don't. You can get messages at any time. But when you've chosen it as a career, basically you are working with spirit uh, to, okay, we're now going to do this is my service, this is my calling. So work with me when I am on. And when I'm not
Right.
on, let me have my life and my balance and my equilibrium. You can still probably get messages, but it's a different type of message and it's not tuned in. So the spirits, the soul world will give you what you need to do what you need to do because you've been chosen to do it. But we do have an off switch.
Yeah, absolutely. And you need it. I mean,
Yeah,
otherwise I would explode or something. I don't know. But,
yeah,
it's like anybody, no matter what you're doing, if you're a surgeon, you can't do it 24 hours a
yeah.
day. I mean, you'll collapse. So it's just, and like you were saying earlier, it's just energetically very draining.
Mm.
And, when I'm not working, like I just want to be a normal person. I want to go to the grocery store and go to my kids' soccer games, and I want to do normal things. So I don't want to be in
On
that
all the time.
world
Mm.
all the time. Yeah,
Yeah,
because it's just it's draining, and it
yeah,
also feels like in some ways it takes away from my process of life,
yes,
living, like learning my own lessons and doing,
yes.
if I'm in the spirit world all the time on that elevated level, then how am I learning my own lessons to grow in my own way, if that makes sense.
It does because people think that when you step into your presence and into that divine world, that is the state of being that you need to be all the time. And you are to a point, but what you're doing is you're merging it with the human expectations of living, right?
Yes.
And you're now having a spiritual human experience instead of just having a spiritual experience.
Right, exactly. And like if my human experience would be over, I wouldn't be here anymore.
Right.
So obviously,
Yeah.
spirit wants me here learning and
Yeah.
growing from my own personal things, whatever's happening in my own life. And so I need to be able to do that and not to be in that elevated state all the time. So I think that's an important distinction that your viewers need to know, is that we're not on all the time. And
Right.
anybody that says they are, I don't know, God love them, but it would be a lot of work to be on all the
Yeah,
time.
and it'd be very, very draining on them psychologically, emotionally, and physically. So it's
Exactly.
not a good state to be in. Um, you obviously communicate with people that have lost loved ones, but do you also just, if people just say, "Look, I have a decision to make," or "I'm lost at the present moment and I don't know where to go," are you able to then channel information for them to see what path is ahead of them, or you only deal with people that have crossed over?
No, I do the whole shebang
Right.
actually. I do like psychic readings, intuitive readings. People come to me like you said about, oh, I'm not sure about this job or where I should move, or so I can certainly do all that work. I also do some past life work. If people say to me, "Oh, I feel like something weird was
Yeah.
going on in my past life," or so I'm sort of able to explore that. And I started also doing some work that I like to call hidden memories. So if people are having issues in this current life and they maybe don't remember things that happened in their childhood, or they just sort of want to go
Mm.
back to a place when they were younger or a place they don't remember. And I can actually go, maybe go to their house and let's sort of walk them through their house and say, oh, yeah, that's where I left the thing.
Yeah.
Or, this is what happened there. And so that's sort of an exciting new branch of things that I'm working on right now. But I do everything. I do the animals, people, intuitive psychic readings, past lives. So,
And past lives is very, very important to know because I was definitely for the first 50 years of my life, you know, constantly had a brick wall around me. It didn't matter. I couldn't climb it, couldn't go underneath it, couldn't obliterate it.
mm,
I just couldn't get through it. And then a woman released the past lives, 152 of them. And then suddenly I've got this open road ahead of me. And it's like the
awesome.
discovery of who am I now? What am I meant to do on this road? And the willingness to then take that journey and discovery, then to discover another 50 lifetimes that were deep in the cellular level, the ones of torn persecution and everything for being a spiritual
Yeah.
being, a vow of poverty, which I'm still trying to make sure that contract stays obliterated, you know. And it made sense. It made sense that that these things were still in the way. And so it's not just always like the one time you get rid of all the life. It depends how long you've been here. I've been here a long time.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's also, you can still have the memories and you can still have the aptitudes of a past life. But what you're not doing is still trying to live that past life. You can get on
Yes.
and live your current life.
Yes, no, 100%. And I do think that a lot of times these past lives get in the way, in
Yeah.
people's way without
Yeah.
them knowing it.
Exactly.
They have no clue. They're just like, oh, I don't know why I feel that way. I just
Mm,
do. And they can't relate it to anything
yeah.
currently. And so having knowledge of those past lives brings a lot of understanding. And then sometimes you do need help sort of releasing them. But certainly there's a lot of people. There was a client that I had that was never around horses, never had anything to do with horses, but they just have this terrible fear of being kicked by a horse. They were
Mm.
like, oh my God, I don't know. I'm afraid if they would ever go to a barn or something, they would just like have this terrible fear. And so we did a regression on them, and it turns out that in a past life, they had not only been kicked, they were a blacksmith, and they had been kicked by the horse, and they ended up crossing from this experience. And
Right.
so she was like, oh, well, that makes sense. Well, now I understand why this happened. And so just having that knowledge is able to sort of release that a lot of times and for you to be able to put it in its proper place and to move on.
I think my daughter was 4 or 5, I can't remember, somewhere around there, and I took her to a past life regressionist. She a fierce little thing in the daytime, but at nighttime could not sleep on her own. With
Oh,
a light on or anything, I'd find her by bottom of my bed or in my bed, in the night. And
no.
so I thought, well, there's something wrong here, and took her to a past life regressionist. And we discovered that she had been abandoned at least 2 or 3 times, always in the dark. Right. And
Oh,
so,
yeah,
I was even able to tell her at that age that this is what happened, but that's not you. You're safe in this
yeah,
lifetime. You're not going to be abandoned in this lifetime. You can let go
right.
of that. And she went on to sleeping in her room with the light on, and not very long after that, no light at all, and feeling completely secure because she wasn't carrying that same feeling of abandonment that you've been carrying unknowingly. We all carry something around, but this doesn't feel right. My life doesn't match this feeling. What is it?
Right.
And so very often it might be a past life you're carrying around and you just need to have somebody help you release it.
Yeah, no, 100%. That's totally right. And it happens, like you said, a lot of times when people aren't even aware of
Yeah.
it. So I would encourage anybody, if you're having these type of feelings or you have fears, you're not sure where they're from, or things that just feel like, this doesn't sit right with me, then
Mm.
you might want to book a session with someone that works with past lives, or, myself or plenty of other people out there that would do this to sort of help walk you through that. And knowledge is power. And a lot of
Yeah.
times just knowing that you have that experience is like, oh, now I understand and now I can let it go.
And that's the thing. It's not erasing the knowledge, it's erasing the feeling or the restriction around the knowledge. When you
Right.
release that, then the knowledge you can look at and go, well, that's very interesting. But it's
Exactly.
but it's no longer, incapacitating me to move forward.
Exactly. It informs you, but it's
Yeah,
not holding you hostage anymore.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. What is your procedure when somebody comes to you? Obviously you can do it virtually, or also physically. I mean, how do you work?
Well, since COVID, I mean, prior to COVID, I was seeing a lot more people in person. And right now, I'm doing all my work virtually, which is great because I can see people all over the place. And it's, obviously it's a lot easier just in terms of, being able to work from my home office. But yeah, if you want to see me, you go to my website, mediummari.com. there's booking directly on the website, and then we book a time and we connect. And yeah, a lot of my sessions are over the phone. That's my preferable way because I'm not too great with the technology. Although sometimes I will do like a Zoom session or a Skype session, depending upon where I am. My where I am, the signal isn't that great, so sometimes it will drop off. So a lot of times phone is easier, and I just conduct my session that way, depending upon what it is the person is looking for, whether it's past life, animal, person, whatever it is, we work through it that way.
And of course, you do have right now, you're not taking people in at the present moment, but you will be
True,
soon.
I am
So,
not.
so,
Yes.
so that notice is up there. So come January, you will be able to, do that again. And just so people just pay attention to that. And in January, you can get back and book there. Um, do you still have your pet detectives site, or is that gone?
Yeah, I did have the pet detective site for a while. I do still do the work, but I just found like it was kind of splitting everything. So
Right.
I do have a section on my website where I do find lost and missing animals. So I am
Mm,
still doing the work. And I do occasionally work with other people from the pet detectives group that I worked with. But many times, if people have missing animals, they'll just come directly to me and I work one on one with them. And yeah, that is really interesting work. I love
hmm
doing the missing animal. It is exhausting though, I'll say, because many times, they'll say, "Oh, I got a sighting," and it's midnight, and I run down to my computer and I'm sort of able to put my hand over a map and sort of figure out the location of where the animal is. And then when I'm working directly with the animal, it's almost like I'm a GoPro on top of the
mm,
animal's head, and the
right.
animal can show me where he's been. And but it takes a lot of direct work with the client and a lot of time tracking the animal. But it is really cool when we find them.
Yes, because recently here we had a dog that went missing during a camping thing, and it was something like 3 months later. No,
Yeah.
a cat. It was a cat, which is unusual,
Oh,
and it was 3 months later that they found this cat. Um, and that's because people in the area set up cameras, to
yeah.
find the cat. But had you used the medium, you probably would have found the cat a lot quicker. So,
Yes, that is true.
yeah, yeah. So it is, and it's very easy, not just animals, I'm sure, missing children. I mean, we see that so much today. And
Yeah.
people go, I know a lot of people, but if you're not seeing somebody in person, how does it work? We're all energy signatures, every single one of us. It doesn't matter what apparatus we're going through, you're picking up the energy, and that's what you're riding on, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes occasionally, like I'm on different systems where I can do chat readings,
Mm,
which in a lot of ways I think is really cool because I have nothing. I have no voice. All I
yeah.
have is, the person saying whatever they're saying in the chat. And to me, I'm always just blown away about how intelligent spirit is that I'm just
Mm.
able to get information just from someone's words on the computer. So yeah, absolutely. The message comes through loud and clear, whether it's phone, in person, chat, whatever it is I'm doing. It's just the energy, like you said.
Yeah. We are all energy creatures. We're all energy signature. And, it is, if we can raise our frequency, certainly to a state of love, to that loving energy, we're actually going to find we'll live our own lives a hell of a lot more productively and more lovingly. But it's also the way that we, coming to you with an open channel, coming to you with an open heart. Not
Yes,
prove it, prove it, prove it. To forget it. If
I
that's what
know.
if that's what you need, go somewhere else. But if it is in trust, I come to you willingly, because we can't do anything without that free will, and with an open
Yeah.
heart ready to receive, you're going to receive a great deal more.
Yes, exactly. And that's like how I start my sessions. I just ask that you to be open for whatever messages spirit is giving me. Because again, I'm not in control.
Right.
And I find when people, like you were saying, are open and they just sort
Yeah.
of relax into the reading as opposed to like, okay, I got my list. It has to be this and
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
and this. Then it's like that just blocks the energy. But if you're able to just relax into it, be open, it's amazing the messages that will come through.
Do you
And
record the
that's the
session
best
for them?
reading. I don't, but I let people record the session if they would like to. I don't
Right.
know how to record the session.
Do you do it
So
through Zoom?
sometimes I do it through Zoom, but a lot of my sessions are over the phone.
Right. Right. Over the phone, a little bit more difficult unless they're on a cell phone and then they can press record. while they're
Yeah,
actually on the
I
cell
guess
phone. So
so.
that's up to them. But if it's not through the phone, obviously it's through anything else, then you can. Because I used to do it by cassette tape, and
Okay.
people liked that because, like me personally, I like to go back and listen for the things that you
Sure.
missed, or you get caught up in one moment and then you miss the next moment. So it's always nice
Oh,
to
of
have that
course.
recording. So yeah, so if you do it by the phone, folks, you can record on your cell phone. You can record the
Oh yeah, I see.
conversation.
Yes, I wouldn't know how to do that, but people are welcome to record. I say you're welcome to record it. I just don't know how to do it. I'm
Right.
not very good with technology, so I just do the work. I can't do the technological part.
Right. I think it just sometimes going to a medium and going, you know, um, I'm open and ready to receive, but I don't know if there's something in my way, or am I sending out the wrong vibration, or just, just having some love from a past loved one would give me the boost I need right now. All of
Yeah.
that, it's something that's really, we don't have to wait for someone to cross over. Sometimes it's what do I need to know? Just what do I need to know right
Yes.
now?
Exactly. And that's more of like an intuitive type of
Yeah.
reading. And a lot of times, yeah, I just get messages about, whatever it could be their job or just about their things that are going on in their lives, but their personality in terms of things they've been working through. I get messages about that as well. And I just feel like whatever is, like I say to people, I've been doing this a long time and I know that spirit doesn't waste a message. And
Yes.
so if they're giving me the message, then I just, I ask that you just accept and try to understand where it's coming from, that it's coming from a divine space and it's
Yes.
something that they want you to know.
Be open and ready to receive, because
Exactly.
that not only helps you get the message through, but it also helps you not having them block you with their own negativity.
Yes, exactly. And I'm lucky that that doesn't happen too much. I guess I'm trying to put enough positive energy out there so I don't get a
Yes.
lot of clients like
Yeah.
that, but sometimes it does. And I just say, look, if you have an agenda of how you want things to go, then I might not be the right person for you because it doesn't work that way. I don't
Right.
have a tick box where I'm able to get exactly what it is you're looking for. And so, but luckily it doesn't happen too often that way. And people have been very happy with the messages. So I'm grateful to be part of the whole package. That's all I can say
Yeah,
because it's
exactly.
you know
It's truly a gift you've been given, and this is your calling. So this is the gentle, even your previous job helps you deliver it even better. So, that was your first chapters of your own learning, your of
yeah,
skills.
exactly.
And now with these beautiful divine skills combined together, just means that you have a better understanding of sometimes of what the message is and how to deliver it in a way that it can be received.
Yes, absolutely. I agree. And I do feel really blessed. And it was funny before I really started doing this. It's like I had a reading with a medium who was saying, you're supposed to be doing this. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like,
Uh-huh.
I can't do this. And so I kept getting more and more messages, but it
Yeah.
did take a while for me to accept it because, like how we talked about earlier, I didn't want people to think I was weird
Yeah,
or,
yes. No,
like
just own
my,
it, darling. We're weird. That's just
no,
the
I
way it
know.
is. Be weird, it's fine.
I know exactly. So it took me a little while to get there, but now I'm, obviously accepting it and there, and because it doesn't feel weird to me. To me,
No,
this feels it's normal to me.
no.
It doesn't feel
No,
weird.
and you have no control of what other people think or feel. If that's
Right.
how they feel or that's how they perceive things, that's their ownership of it. So
Yes.
don't take it on. You know where you are and what you are and why you are, and that's all that matters.
Exactly. Exactly. It's like the opinions, other people's opinions of us are none of our business, right?
Exactly. And it doesn't matter. You could stand on your head and win a Nobel Prize if they're going to judge you or perceive you in any way that they wish, very often in the reflection of their own discord within themselves. So
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
you're there for the people who are open, ready to receive. For those that aren't, yeah, it's
That's right.
let it go. So it's Medium
100%.
Mari, Mari.com. You're also on Facebook, Medium Mari, mobile Twitter, Medium Mari, Instagram, you are Medium Mari 38, and you are AG Instagram on your YouTube channel.
Yes, and TikTok. I'm also on TikTok. My
Right.
kids somehow talked me into being on TikTok, and so I'm on TikTok as well as Medium Mari.
Right, wonderful. So, people can get hold of you and follow you in all of your ways. And, you've got this YouTube thing too, where, you've got one here we have on the show page, get signs from your loved ones and how to open up and receive them. And, you've been certified as a psychic medium as well, which people don't realize you can be, but you are.
Yes,
And
I
so
am.
you're the genuine deal. And if somebody's really wanting to they're just feeling stuck, don't know where to go, or, they'd love to talk with a loved one, or is there a message from me from behind the veil? It's just go with that open heart and open mind.
Exactly, exactly. And, I appreciate you having me on here. It's been wonderful and so nice to chat with you. And absolutely, if people are interested in connecting with me, they can do it on all my social media or my website. And I am planning on opening my bookings up in the new year. So you'll be able to book a session with me.
Right. In the meantime, you've got so many messages, on your YouTube, and you've got a newsletter that goes out as well, so they can still have that connection and
Absolutely.
start opening up and ready to receive. So when you do get a booking, you're ready to go, which is really important. But you may channel those messages because your channel is big, wide, and deep and far-reaching. But every single one of us has the ability to open up our channels to receive, even if it's not on the same level. And it's just don't be afraid to open it up. Um, but it does need an open heart. For the soul messages
Exactly.
come through, it does need an open heart. So if your heart is closed in any way for any reason, this is the time to get it open so you can truly receive.
Absolutely, 100%. And that's where it all lies. It's that heart connection. I always say the soul is connected with the heart. And if you have an open heart, you are really able to receive all the messages from above, from the other side, and to also be connected to your own spirit as well.
Yeah, most certainly. Thank you so much for sharing here today.
Thank you so much for having me. It was so much fun. That was really nice. I didn't know you did the work as well. So that was cool for me to hear about that. So I was like, oh, cool.
Vibrations attract vibrations. And if that's
Right.
another thing, folks, is, raise your vibration, raise your frequency, raise it up to a higher loving consciousness. And you'll realize not only does the other side talk to you, but life guides you in that higher vibration, in that higher frequency. And when you're coming from that place of love and open up those channels to receive, you'll never be alone. There'll always be guidance there to lead you forward. So don't be afraid to open it up. Thanks so much, Mari.
Thank you so much. This has been great. Thank you so much again for everything.
My pleasure. Until next time, folks, bye for now. We hope that you enjoyed the show. Find all of our shows on selfdiscoverymedia.com under podcasts or selfdiscoverymedia/shows. And for all our current shows, go to What's New. We are supported by you, the audience. You'll see a nice big shiny blue button for one-time donations, or follow us on Patreon and you will be able to support us there. We enjoy bringing you such wisdom. And the next show will be up in just a moment.